welcome to HCL Tech.
Thank you.
And for this amazing conference that Boone and the team organized. What are your thoughts on an event like this and how it's driving sustainability for palm oil industry?
I think for palm oil industries, the stakes are super high, given the regulatory landscape as well as the complexity of the supply chain.
Yeah.
We understand that a lot of companies want to do more. A lot of companies want to track the data. However, it's exceptionally hard.
Yeah.
So our take is that yes, we need to get it right. We need to understand what kind of data we want to collect. We want to engage the suppliers as well as the entire value chain, whether upstream or downstream. And technology is the tool that we can use to achieve that. For our side, from MioTech, we are a combination of sustainability and data experts. So we have done scope 3 or supply chain projects in the past. And the conclusion that we've realized is that without the use of technology, it's very hard. It's going to be a lot of manual labor. It's going to be very hard to scale up. And that's why we want to help our clients manage data better through the use of platforms and technologies.
What, according to you, are some of the biggest challenges this industry is facing from perspective of ESG reporting and implementing a decarbonization strategy?
Yes.
From that perspective, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a very relevant question in the sense that I just had chat with some of our industry practitioners over here. They find it hard to, navigate the increasing amount of regulatory frameworks. You have the EUDR, we talk about the ESRS, that there is the CS-DDD coming.
Yeah.
Question is, so how am I to say that I'm compliant with these frameworks? One way, of course, is to use the technology we have, but the other angle is to look into how to get the data collected. For example, when it comes to internal data collection, how do we manage the entire data collection process? Who's going to be responsible for what?
Yeah.
The entire accountability of the data collection. These are the things that we need to look at when we comply with ESG reporting frameworks, etc. For decarbonization in particular, we have to come back to the three-letter magic word that we talked about earlier, which is ROI.
Yeah.
I understand there are talks about implementing different decarbonization measures. However, I've realized that a lot of corporates, especially maybe in the palm oil industries as well, have to look into how efficient they are if they are to deploy these measures. So our take or our angle is that we digitalize everything. We use data to simulate and justify each of the investment into the decarbonization measures, such that we'll be able to see from the baseline emissions from today, let's say 10 years from now, what kind of money you have to spend, as well as the amount of carbon reductions that we'll be able to achieve in the time frame.
Yeah, you mentioned visibility, end-to-end visibility in data collection.
Yes.
What role is technology playing in this? What about the emerging tech that is coming up? How it's helping this industry in their ESG calculations and everything?
So there are two angles to it. One angle to it will be digitalization. Now there is a more traditional tech angle where we're trying to digitalize the data collection through platforms, through IoTs, and through the different devices and the endpoints. However, there is another angle when it comes to carbon calculations. This is the use of emission factors, the use of data in order to triangulate or interpolate the data for carbon emissions. I'll put it in simple terms that for smallholders, for example, it would be very hard for them to calculate their own carbon emissions, of course, right? They only care about day-to-day operations or maybe just to get the fruits out.
Right.
However, they definitely have an idea about their production amount. Maybe if for some of the larger operators or plantations, they can keep track of their energy usage. These are the kind of data that we can leverage to help at least estimate or calculate the carbon emissions from the more endpoint side.
Tell us how your organization is helping organizations with their ESG compliance reporting and some of the biggest challenges as well that you're facing while implementing those.
So one thing that we see is that, first of all, the regulation pressure just keep coming.
Okay.
There are more and more standards that we have to align with. And second of all, the details of these compliance are not always clear. Meaning, let's say if I am to comply with CSRD, of course there is ESRS, which is great. However, when the new standard that comes out, let's say TNFD, we're discussing, how do we quantify the impact of a loss of a species, for example. Now, that kind of data collection or that kind of discussions would be, or at least at this stage, still quite unclear to a lot of practitioners. So to us, I think the key point is to figure out what data to collect, what exact indicators we should be looking at, and in the reporting standard, how best we could aggregate the data that we have from a reporting perspective while avoid the risk of getting greenwashing.
Any future trend you foresee completely transforming this industry and driving sustainability practices organization-wide?
I think the trend is definitely going to be data, meaning whether it is participation of a larger value chain, or when it comes to internal data collection, how we get more granularity in the data we collect, how we get more sort of alignment with the international standards that we see, or echoing my previous answer, how do we get more clarity from the regulator perspective what exactly we need to report. So that's the angle that we need to attack in order to get all the different factors right.